Welcome to LTV channel, where we focus on beating down the meta with Link Joker. Today, I'm going to share you guys my deck list that I brought to Worlds. Unfortunately, didn't reach top 8, but I was close to doing it. Up until round 4, I was able to stay on the top table. But on round 5 onwards, I did a lot of misplays. I feel like I'm being pressured because I have the mindset that I have to win my games in order to top. So I did a lot of misplays that, and when I really think about it, there are moves that I think it'll be better. But anyway, starts off with 4 Vocal God. This card just is an amazing beater for Link Joker. Everything's came out. Since V doesn't have Mega Messiah, having Vocal is actually not bad. Like, if I ever put 2 Force 1 on it, it's almost impossible to guard it. Because your opponent will have to throw out at least 3 cards to guard, or PG. And while with Force 2, it gives in a pressure as well, lets me control my opponent's damage. Like, once they're reach like 3 damage, get a crit with Force 2, they have to guard this card. Otherwise, yeah, and then they won't have Counterblast. And then next is 4 Alter Ego Messiah. This card is my finisher and my best setup in the game. It lets me scale up the game really high. Yeah, mainly it's just Vocal and Alter Ego to unlock and lock. Multi-attacks, pretty straightforward. Messiah players knows it. Yeah. And next is the Chaos Breaker Dragon. If I ever want to play control against my opponent, I get to, if my opponent plays aggro, I can just like control them and steal their markers, so lock their field. They can't do much after that. And then if I ever want to go aggro, I can just switch playstyles. Depending on the matchup, I will adjust to it. So yeah, this deck actually is not an easy deck to pilot, to be honest. I need to know what my opponent plays and how to counter it well. And if I somehow, like, when I need Chaos Breaker and I don't have Chaos Breaker and I have Messiah, I somehow still have to manage with it. Yeah, so far I have no problem with it. And then one Harmonics. One Harmonics Messiah, because I thought this card, I do want to see it in my hand, but at the same time I also don't want to see it. I want to see it at the late game where I needed the card in my hand to, because late game with just Alter Ego Messiah, usually I have little hand, but with Harmonics you can draw a bunch, especially with 5 lock cards or 4 lock cards. You will draw 3 to 5 cards, but minimum usually I have at least like draw 2 cards out of it. It came out only on the second round, when I was facing Michael on the feature match. I'll link the description on the description below. But yeah, a pretty interesting card, because you can search any card in your deck and put it as down as lock card. Sets you up the game. One Bound, to be honest, this card is the best card in my opinion to beat down the current meta. Against Steam Maiden, if I was able to make my opponent think that, powering up my vanguard is actually how to beat this deck. So the more they have put their bind zone, the more power LL gets. And by then, I usually already still steal their force markers or put them down to like pressure them enough to have them enough bind zone, and their LL is just so big. So I just write this card on top of it and they can't do anything. Especially if I steal their markers, what, they're gonna write to another LL, or they're gonna write to another like Hill Guardian 10k, but sure, but then they have no force marker anyway. And if they, even if they write up to say Chrono Jet or Uluru Grade 4, this just is gonna be 15k base and they can't even hit it. So yeah, and then also against Lambros, Astropole, Lambros, this will be 25k and pressuring them not to do their playstyle. And then Astropole is also with Valkyrian, I usually just guard like 20k, 30k guard or 10k guard for each attack, which is pretty easy. And then yeah, against Luard, their rear guards give them 5k boost to the vanguard, so Luard's base usually 38k. So my opponent sometimes even consider not going to direct driver because of that. So yeah, this card is a pretty good setup in my opinion, and late game stall. Just so that like you don't die against some meta decks. Yeah. And then next is 4 Zirconium. This card, well, basically is another Starvader. Can be searched by Craving Claw, and then gives 2 Crystal Vanguard. It's a pretty solid card. The reason why I want to run, well, the reason this card I think is really good is because you can lock opponents. This locking is actually very hard in V, ever since they take out a lot of Link Joker locking mechanics. But they're back, but it is a bit hard because you do need to have a lot of resource, and with 1 CB locking anywhere is open rearguard. I have to play around it and make my opponent able to lock their front row, and then or play with Craving Claw with CBD. And then next is 3 Guster. I was debating whether I want to run 4 or 4 Guster and 2 burst or 2 burst monk, but I decided that I think if I ever go first and I have burst monk and vocal god with alter ego, my opponent's still grade 2. If I pull out grade 3, I can just kill off right here with the bat. I did that once in BCS Toronto, and then my opponent's still grade 2 Steam Maiden, and just right over first turn Lagrange vocal and Guster skill goes put second vocal, and then next I just lock burst monk from my drop zone with alter ego and just pull off a grade 3 and instant win pretty much. Yeah, burst monk, in my opinion, like gacha card, pretty good, but I hate it when I don't pull it. Most of the time I pull it, but recently I think it's just not my lucky day. Yeah, Guster is the closest thing that we have to Mega Messiah. I wish Mega comes out in V anytime soon, so I can actually have a better searcher and self-locker. Lagrange art. For Lagrange art, it's just one of the best card in my opinion. It sets up your early game. Late game, it basically replaces your clear frame. Because clear frame basically unlocks your vocal from the drop and you draw a card, but this card is soul charged. Sometimes you do need the soul. So yeah, with this you can attack multiple times with vocal and sets you up early game. It's just a solid card. And if I don't have draw vocal, I can sometimes lock the Craving Claw behind the Vanguard and actually just attack with it. Yeah, whatever cards I can lock and just draw. Yeah. Sometimes I even lock a Quick Shield just to draw. Yeah. Craving Claw. Amazing card, gives a lot of pressure early game, early game. So it also sets me up to my deck. I can play a lot of Starvader too if I want to. I can put Palladium in here. I did consider putting Palladium in here just so that I can try to force my opponent to lock their front row. But Palladium, unfortunately, it's just I think it's underwhelming cards. It's not a good card. I wish it doesn't have the restriction of Counterblast retired. I wish it goes to Soul like the old one does, but yeah, other than that, Craving Claw, yeah, it searches your shields. You can search itself, 10k shields, pretty good. And then next is Cauldron Wing. I did consider playing 2 instead of just 1 because it barely comes up, but when it does comes up, I usually have 2 of them. So I thought like having 1 is enough, but unfortunately I think I should have played 2. There are times where I want to counter charge, I don't have a CB. But yeah, and also if I ever put Harmonics Messiah on rear guard, I can also self-lock it, and well, I have another Vanguard, like Chaosbreaker for example. So I can just have Chaosbreaker on the Vanguard and then Harmonics on the rear guard and Cauldron Wing on the rear. I can just self-lock a counter charge and use CBD skill to counter blast. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I did that with another deck called Brand Messiah, but yeah, that's the counter charge. White Dwarf. To be honest, I don't really like this card. But looking for my grade 1 lineup, I only have 9 cards, so I have to find a slot for 1 more grade 1s. I did have Cauldron Wing, one more Cauldron Wing here, but I replaced it with this, just so that sometimes I don't get the grade 3 that I need, like Bowen or Harmonics, but yeah, sometimes I even have like a Chaos while I need the Messiah, so yeah, sometimes this does comes in help. And early game I can also search for Hill Guardians. Yeah, but I guess I don't really like. I still don't like this card. I wish we have a better card like Sacrifice Messiah, so I can multi-attack in V. And the trigger lineup is pretty solid. 8 crits, 4 heal guardians, because Burst Monk, and 4 draw PGs. Yeah, and then pretty much that's the deck. I guess I can share you guys why I want to run this. I think this deck can counter the meta anything if I pull the right cards at the right time. Bound is the key to beating down the current meta. In my opinion, such a good card in Premium and V. There are some cards like the reason why I run this deck too, also because my opponent, I will let my opponent keep guessing what I want to do. They don't know what I want to do. There are times where they damage deny me, but I was on CBD and I just write Alter Ego, or I was on Harmonics and they damage deny me, so I just write Alter Ego, or instead they see me I have an Alter Ego, I just write to CBD and Harmonics because since they give me CB. So this deck's basically mainly playing mind games against my opponent. So they don't know what I want to do. Sometimes I don't even know what I dealt my cards in my hand is. So me and my opponent just keep guessing, and then I like whatever comes up to me, I just play it and try my best. Yeah. And then next, these are some cards that I did consider playing it for Worlds in this deck, but I took it off. Infinite Zero. If sometimes they think that I have just a CBD and Zirconium, they think because I need to lock open rearguard with Zirconium, so they just fill their boards fully. But I can just like lock them Infinite Zero, and this card is also pretty good. Like once I have 4 damage, if I have options to write to either Alter Ego, CBD, or Harmonics. With CBD, it's just the normal like Break Right era cards, but and you steal two their regards locked, and use Craving Claw, lock their front row, or Zirconium. Pretty good, right? Just like Starvader playstyle. Harmonics, you can multi-attack on top of it and lock 2. Just like a premium, I get to lock opponent's regard while I multi-attack, and Alter Ego too. But this is the best one. Like in my opinion, like if I can be able to write Infinite Zero with Alter Ego while I'm 4 damage, and I have a Craving Claw on rearguard, I can just lock their 2 opponents front row normally. Because once usually I have like 4 damage, the game goes on pretty long until it reaches to the point where my opponent's board are full. If that's the case, I can just lock their 2 front row while Alter Ego multi-attacks, and basically I get like 1 free turn. Yeah, pretty interesting card to play. They're cheap too. And I did consider playing more Ditto Bound. There are times where I wish I have Bound and my opponent has like more than 9 bind zones in LO. If I write this card, they just like can't do anything about it. But yeah, I could replace Harmonics for this card, in my opinion. Brand. This card is used to stall for 1 turn and maybe steal me a damage with a heal trigger. It is pretty slow. I can't do a multi-attack or whatsoever with it, but it does makes me feel pretty safe for 1 turn if my opponent pulls a crit or a heal. Just pretty interesting card to play. Apart from that, nothing else. You do get Force Marker. Yeah. Ghastly Nail. This card is better off with the Harmonics, but it is one of the easiest way without using a CB to block a vocal from hand. But apart from that, this card's not that good anymore. Yeah. So basically Guster. Yeah, I wish we have a better card like Niga comes to me again. Lady Fancer. This is the easiest way to multi-attack without calling vocal true effect. Sometimes you don't have the resource to do it. But apart from that, Lady Fancer is just used to multi-attack there, and it's very low attack. I don't personally like it. Yeah. More Color Wing, more counter charge. I explained earlier. Manipulator Void. I did use this in the BCS Toronto. It does set me up with vocal better sometimes, or sets up my field good, but I just took it out for more like ground chart, pressure and craving claw and hit. Yeah, maybe I will consider playing this card. Bar roll, if I'm able to lock my opponent's 2 front row rear guard, this is basically just like the Glandios playstyle, Soul +1 Omega lock for 1 turn. But in this case, I have a chance to multi-attack. Interesting card, but situational. Sometimes it's hard to pull. Yeah. Sometimes you just play like Messiah, which means it's just 10k shield in your hand. Yeah. Crit Sentinel, I did consider playing more crits just to pressure more. But sometimes I realize like I'm too scared against Astro Poets because their vanguard is very big. If I don't draw Ditto, I will be in big trouble. So I don't know about playing this. Instead, I played the draw PGs. And besides, it's a draw trigger. It's not a bad card. So yeah. And but like Dwarf, maybe this is like a one-off. If I ever write to Alter Ego on top of it, I was able to search for harmonics. But apart from that, this card is pretty bad in my opinion. I wish they make this a better one. Just like the old Giera version gives 5k, just like a mini vocal maybe. But unfortunately, it's just let you draw 2 cards with the counter blast. I don't think it's worth it anymore. Yeah, we definitely need Sacrifice and Miga for Messiah V to works. And then yeah, I made these slow counters because I'm too lazy to flip cards face down, face up. But yeah, apart from that, this is basically my Lean Joker deck. I think this is a pretty solid deck to be done in the current meta. It's just hard to pilot. Not a lot of people understand why I run certain cards. It's mostly I use some psychological plays sometimes, like pressuring my opponent, and then yeah, I can play mind games with this list. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this. Stay tuned on for next video I'm gonna post. Thank you for your support. Yeah, check out my game on Featured Match Round 2. I'll link in the description. And yeah, see you guys next time. Bye bye.